stop walking. Somebody's talking. Be quiet, stop walking. Somebody's talking. Quiet, stop walking. Somebody's talking. Be quiet, stop walking. Somebody's talking.
Alright guys, well, here we go. So I purchased over the weekend a Sangean DT-200x with the goal of turning it into a hack shack. Now it is April 18th, 2022. And I got this one off of Amazon for $42. I think typically around 50 bucks was on sale. And I was really excited because I know these were very popular as Hack Shack spirit boxes in the past. I had actually seen a couple YouTube videos that showed how to turn this into a hack shack very simply by opening it up. And over on this side there's one pin that's identified, that they identified in the videos, that you just bent out, closed it back up, turn it on, hit seek, and it just started skipping through all of the frequencies without stopping. Even if it hit a channel, it would just sweep through it. Brilliant. I mean, it was a $50 spirit box, you know, knockoff, where a regular SB7 or S box costs upwards of $100. So it was a no-brainer. Unfortunately, what I found out when I purchased this one was that the manufacturer changed the design. So all the videos that I'd seen, they were like from 2017. And like I said, the manufacturer here, Sangean, or Sangean, however you say it, they changed the internal board. So when I got this, I did the hack as it had been shown for, you know, many years ago, the old style, not realizing this was quote unquote a new style radio internal, and it didn't work. Fitting one pin did not work, and I was upset at first, a little deflated. Decided to get online and see if anybody had information on making this new model. It looks exactly the same on the outside as the old one, but inside, internally, the board and components on the board are completely different. And unfortunately, I ran into a bunch of threads like this one. So after reading that, I was, you know, a little more deflated. But here at Pasadena Paranormal, we're pretty motivated and we persevere, right? So I wasn't ready to take their word for it. I wanted to see for myself if it could be done. And as you saw at the beginning of this video, I was able to accomplish it. And that being said, I haven't seen anybody do a video on this new style Sangean tutorial on how to create a hack shack, so that's what we're going to do right now. So as you can see, I've already opened the box. I've actually already hacked this, but I'll go over a quick overview. I took the batteries out that I had. It does not come with batteries. It does come with a little back clip. It comes with a headset, and I don't have it down here, but it also comes with an antenna extension, which essentially plugs right into the headphone jack and extends the antenna. That is something I do not want, because I do not want to promote picking up radio stations. So what I've done to this one may be overkill for what someone else wants to do, but I'll go through everything I did to make it the way I wanted, and I'll tell you the parts that you may be able to leave out if you want to. Quick note, everything that I've done and everything I'm about to show you will completely void the warranty on this device, so I would not suggest doing this and trying to return it back to Amazon. Also, the way I've done it, it actually would be very difficult, not impossible, but it would be difficult for me to turn this back into a regular radio for the most part. And I'll show you why, but there are things you can do to this that I think will still make it functional as a hack shack, that you could turn it back into a just regular radio if you wanted to. All right, first thing I want to go through is how to open this up. Very simple. I always have one of these quick screwdriver, multi-screwdrivers in my paranormal bag. It comes in handy if you gotta change batteries or open something up. But there are 1, 2, and then 3 screws inside this, holding this together. So 2 screws outside, 1 screw in the battery compartment. This is the same exact screw layout that the original Sangean DT-200x had, so no different there. Just gonna grab a Phillips head and take these puppies out. Always note to self, don't lose your screws. I'm gonna put them in a little baggie, just because I'm old school like that. Now I have already taken this puppy apart quite a few times today to figure out how to hack this. And once you do it, obviously 100 times, you get pretty good at it. So I'll try and note everything that I learned. So with this unit, I just took those 3 screws out. This little top switch cover here, I'm gonna go ahead and pull off. It just pops off just like that. All right, put that in my bag. And I'm gonna switch over to a little flathead to use as kind of a little soft pry. You don't have to be real crazy with this. Mine's popping open pretty easy now that I've opened it up a bunch of times. But just kind of go in and turn it. There's a little clip right here at the end. So I'm just going to go around and softly open it up. All right, so this front piece is kind of clipped in here, is kind of attached around this, but it all comes apart easy. So there's the back piece, all right? Battery compartment facing up, pop that off. All right, these little switches here, these little switch covers, they're gonna come right, they're gonna slide off. There are, let's see if I can show you that. These little teeth here, all right? They actually slide over, like this one slides over that little blue switch. All right, that's the actual switch. This is the switch cover. This one in particular for the blue, for the this side, which is the changing it from stereo to mono to internal speaker. All right, so if you wanted to use the headset or an external speaker, you would switch it to ST or mono, depending on if your connector was stereo or mono. If you wanted to use the internal speaker that comes on the unit, this guy, you would switch that down to SP. Oops, SP. Anyways, that's what this does. So we're going to take this switch cover and we're going to put it in our bag. Flip around the other side. Over here we have a lock. This just makes it so if you put it on a station, you can lock it and you won't be able to change the station by accident. So we're going to slide that puppy out as well. Same thing, this one's a little black switch in there. And the little teeth, oops, go on there. I will show you this real quick actually. We'll go over this again, this part again when we put this back together. But the teeth are arranged differently, so you know, they look kind of similar on the front. But this one that goes on the lock is much closer to center than this one. You notice this one is all the way over to the edge. All right, so center one for lock. This one's for changing between stereo and internal speaker. We'll put both of those in the bag. Save for later. All right, now we're gonna take this puppy off. I've been taking it off. It makes it much easier. So we're just gonna slide him up, and he just kind of pops right off of there. All right, not gonna break it. It just kind of grooves in. So it's just a matter of getting it out and popping it off. Put that puppy in our bag. All right, so some things I'm gonna point out real quick that are gonna be different when you open up yours. One, there will be a black wire coming from right here all the way down to right here. All right, these two solder points. I took that off. I initially took it off because I thought it was assisting this with its antenna. I took it off and saw absolutely no change. I do believe it's still doing that, or it was doing that. But I would say if you go for this mod, do this as a last resort. You may not have to remove it. I didn't see any change in function after I did, even with it grabbing radio stations. So another thing you will have on yours is this red and white wire will actually be connected to the speaker down here. Mine ended up coming off because I took this top board on and off so many times and eventually got started moving too fast and I pulled a little too hard, and it's just tiny little wire solder points. So I can always solder these points back on if I want to, but to be honest with you, in true Pasadena Paranormal fashion, we're gonna be using a noise gate with this one probably almost every time. So I will always be using the external speaker port so I can run it through the noise gate. So I will probably not solder these back on, but if you want that internal speaker, just be careful when you take this off. Be ginger and slow and just kind of lay it over, don't yank it, and you should have no problem there. Another thing you'll have is down here at the base, which I didn't bring with me, I have them put away upstairs, is actually the antenna portions, the resonance stones for the antennas, which I pulled out. Again, I wanted mine detuned. I don't want this picking up radio blips. So some people like that radio blip. To me, it's just radio. I want a full-blown, only spirits are talking. If I hear words or sentences coming through, I want confidence that it is indeed a spirit talking, not a commercial. If you're hearing a little child's voice, that's probably my daughter in the background, so she's going to sleep. I apologize. It's not a ghost. It's not a ghost. All right, so I took these out. They were glued in. I just went through and popped them out after I took this board off, and they had two little real thin little copper lines that come up, and they soldered onto these two little points. So again, mine is not impossible to turn back into a radio, but it would take more effort than I would ever want to do it. So mine's going to be permanently a spirit box. And from that point, that would be the only differences from here, what you're seeing, to from just this view to what you will see when you open up yours. Okay, now this is open up. Remember, you're gonna have some different stuff here. We're at a point ready. We're gonna take this top board off. Again, if you're just opening yours up for the first time, you'll have a red and a white lead that are connected down here to your speaker. Be careful if you want to keep that intact. Don't go ripping this off. Also, you'll have the antenna here down at the bottom, the antenna resonators, and they'll have fine little leads coming off and soldered in. So you're going to have stuff connected somewhat to this board. It'll be able to move, but just be ginger with it. Mine, everything's been removed, so it's just going to pop right out. And we have pins that are seated along this side and a couple underneath. And this is what we're going to deal with. So you have pins that go in this terminal here, 4 up here, I think it's 10 here, 4 up here, and there's 2 in the center, and 2 off to the side here by the battery leads, connections. On this end, this is where things get different than the original hack for this radio. So originally, this 4th pin, where you'll see a blank spot in mine, I'm pointing at right here, this blank spot actually had a pin in it. So there was 4 here and 10 here. 4 space 10. This 4th one you would bend, and originally that would complete the hack. I bent mine so much today playing around that I snapped that 4th one off. Good thing you don't need it. So bend it inward on your 4th, and then your 8th pin and your 10th pin bend in. And I'm not exactly sure why, but I got the premonition. I had actually just kind of bent them in, and I got this to work. But it would, I'd have to reset it numerous times, and I'll show you what I mean by reset it. With this, I got the premonition to cross these 2 pins. So you can kind of see I've bent them in and towards each other, and I just have them touching. I don't know why this works. I don't know where I got the premonition to do it from. I always thank Jesus for everything, so thank you, Lord. But in doing it this way, it seems to work. So I'm not exactly sure why, but it does. So bend those in, just real slowly, each one, bend them in until they touch, and their own rigidness should keep them touching inward. And if you break this 4th pin off, it doesn't matter. Definitely try not to break these 2 off. And there you go. So now, with those 2 bent in and this one bent in, you're actually ready to just line these back up. Now this part, just take your time. I start with the top 4 up here. I make sure I feel like they've socketed, like the tip of them is socketed into the terminal. These others lined up. There you go. These all kind of feel like they lined up. And just give gentle pressure. Like Bob Ross here. Gentle, gentle, paint a gentle tree. All right, so just gently push it in, and that's it. I mean, once you feel like it's kind of stopped, don't push anymore. They do sit out still quite a bit. They're not like flush down in there, you know, there's still a bit sticking out there. So if it gets to the point where it's like, yep, that's it, I don't want to go any further, stop. And then it should be even across, you know, even all the way across. It shouldn't be jacked up over here or high this end or anything high up over here. That's it. All right, and So now we're actually ready to put this guy back together, and I will show you the interesting resets that are still going to be required, but I found by bending those two pins, it actually has been minimized quite a bit. I don't seem to have to do it all that often once I initialize it. So let's get into that. All right, so we're just going to do things in the reverse order this time. We're going to get our little side guys and our top piece put back on. So I'm going to go ahead and start with this one. And it's pretty easy to look at. You get a hole that goes over this. Everything just kind of lines back up that way. So I just kind of corner that joker in there. Once it sockets onto that, it pretty much just slides back into place. All right, so that's secure. It wasn't locked in by any clips. It's not glued in. It just kind of fits in there, and when everything's clamped together, it'll hold it tight. So now let's grab, okay, remember our center, the one that was mostly set with these little legs. Oops, let's fix that. These little legs here, the centered ones, they go on our lock side. So you see a little key that goes on your lock side, and essentially you're just taking those little legs and you're going to, you'll see in here when you have this, there's a little switch. You just want to make sure those little legs go over that little square switch, and you can hear it click. So it just seats in, bada bing, bada boom. Don't flip it over, it'll fall out. Just gonna spin it around, grab this one, and there's our little feet. If you can see them right there, they're gonna go over the blue switch square. Just gonna slide it in. This one's a little more finicky, but I promise he will go in. Oops. Just line him up on there, and there it is. So now he's on there. All right. Now is the back plate cover. So with this part, you'll see right here how the battery leads on this end, they're still, you know, they never moved. But on this side, they're not there. That's because they're in here. So when you go to put this on, see if I can get this, you actually have to line up to make sure that those terminals, this middle springy piece, these two middle springy pieces, they actually slot into these grooves, which I know you probably can't see very well, but there's little grooves here. All right, two little grooves on this side, two little grooves on this side. And those have to slide in there. Both of them have to slide in. So as long as they slide down in there, you're good. So mine are slid in. Now you're just gonna go around. You definitely wanna make sure this front face is lined up. This is a little harder to do on camera, but we're just gonna make sure that that bottom lip is grooved in behind the back plate. We're slotted in, oops, we're slotted in here. I'm just gonna kind of slowly go around and make sure this puppy clips back together. Remember the bottom clip down here, clips together, for the most part. Boom, there we go, boom. And really just wanna make sure you don't have any large gaps. If you have a gap and it's giving you resistance, don't continue to crush it. There's a resistance for a reason. There shouldn't be any real resistance. And when you're done, it should just be all clipped back together. And then of course it's just putting our screws back in and getting this piece back on. All right, so going back into our little bag of parts we took off, this little booger is the switch cover for the bass boost. I gotta remember how this one, I think it's this way. So basically you have on the back of this, is, let me see, yeah, there's a little hole, like a little square notch hole that goes over a little square switch in there, which you probably cannot see, but it just slides on here and pushes in, if I line it up correctly. This was the only pain in the butt part that I was annoyed with. Probably helps to put it on the right way. If I can figure out the right way, come on, baby. There it is. This one takes a little bit of thumb pressure, but once you get it on there, once you line the two up and put a little thumb pressure on it, it'll snap on just like that. So now we just need to put our screws back in. All right, so we have 3 screws that came out of this, 2 longer screws, and 1 short screw. The short screw, you should know by now, is the one that came out from here. And look, I just noticed that this spring did not seat. So I'm gonna pop that back open and correct that real quick. So be aware of that. Okay, so I saw that that spring was not seated correctly, so I've just gone around and pry this up again. And we hadn't screwed anything down yet. So this just pops right back up. All of our switch covers are in place. I did have to pop this one back off to do this, but we saw how easy that was. And all we're gonna do is just make sure these 2 slot in, and they just did. Okay, now I can see that I am slotted in properly. I am slotted in correctly. Just need to make sure that the front lines up so that it lays over the edge, still slotted in, and just kind of press everything back together, looking around, clip it together, clip, clip, everything looks good. And this time we are slotted in correctly everywhere. All right, so now we'll repeat this process, getting this guy on there. I already forgot again which way it goes, but 1 of 2 ways, there it is, boom. All right. All right. Small screw. Phillips head. Screwdriver. Does help if you have a magnetic screwdriver. So that always makes things easier. Just screw it till it's snug. Don't over crank it. Do these guys on the top. This guy. And we are fully reassembled. We can see that our buttons all work and feel good. Switches all work and feel good. Volume control rolls easy. And battery compartment opens. So there you go. It's back to normal. Next thing to do is see if we can make it work. All right, so now this puppy's back together. All the next thing to do is to power it up. It takes 2 AA batteries. I will say one of the things I don't like about this design is there's no little ribbon inside to help get the batteries out. You gotta kind of use a thumbnail or something, and it can be a pain, but it's obviously not that much of a pain. But socket your batteries in, go in the proper direction, and that's it. Technically, that's power. Make sure you're, for me, I am going to be using an external speaker. Let's use this one. So I need to make sure that my switch on this side is set to stereo or mono. This is a stereo, so I have it to ST. If you want to use the internal built-in speaker, you would go to SR or SP. SP. Mine doesn't work because I broke it, but don't break yours. All right, so Speaker's on. I have it set right. Next thing to do is just hit the red button at the top. So we know we have sound. Now we should be able to hit seek, and it should run through these stations. Hold it down for half a second. But notice something interesting here. I've lost sound. So this is what confused me at first. This should have worked, right? All right, we know the speaker's on. This isn't working. And here I had one station that it kept stopping on. Let's see if it does it. Nope. All right, so it's sweeping through all stations, but it's not giving us the white noise, the static noise. So what I found is hold down the power. All right, it's powering off. I wait for this light to go off, the orange light, and I wait another 5 seconds. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. The entire time holding the power button. Turn it on. Alright, now it stops at this radio station. Okay, interesting. Do the same thing again. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So there you go. It's an odd setup. It's an odd way to, you have to trick it. All I can think is that by holding down the power button, you're clearing out an internal registry that it has, or some kind of built-in memory that requires a clear. So just like you would, you know, take the batteries out of something and hold down the power to clear out any internal build-up memory. It's kind of like that. This works every time though, just like I showed you. You know, if it doesn't work the first time, hold it down again. I have that one station that without any antenna, just remember, it's always able to pick up some RF. This is RF you're hearing right now. All that is RF. It's just not able to really match the frequency of that broadcast station because the antenna is gone. So one other thing I'll say is, if you're holding on to it, remember you can act as an antenna as well. So setting it down, and there, just passed over that 98.5. It keeps stopping. It wants to stop there. It's the only one that wants to stop it. So let's see. If I'm not touching it, don't have my hands on it, actually giving it more of an antenna, it should screen past it every time, just like that. There you go. You hear nothing coming through except for that one spot where you're getting that radio blip. So if I start hearing voices come through, I know it's not radio. You know, you go to an area, let it run like this, see what kind of RF stations it will pick up. Mine's detuned. If you don't pull all the antenna out, you're probably going to get quite a bit, unless you're in a completely dead RF area. But there you go, it's just continually sweeping now that I'm not touching it, and ripping right past that one. So next I'll show you what it sounds like with the noise gate. Alright, and just to show operation with the noise gate. Alright, so you heard that. That was that radio station that still I can't get rid of, but it's blasting by it. Noise gate is active, set to negative 10 dB. I don't know if you can see here. That was that radio station. So listen to it again, you'll see it at 90, I think it's 98.5. Alright, so with this, you can turn this up a little louder if I wanted to. It's still much quieter with the noise gate, and we should be able to hear still hear voices come through like that. Alright, the noise gate will release when the voice comes through and then pull back to cut out all the white noise, so it makes it so much easier to listen to. But even without the noise gate, I do find this one easier to listen to than with the spirit box. So I'll go ahead and turn it down a little bit, and I'll turn up the noise gate. So the volume down on this, and as soon as it goes back to that radio station, 98.5 I think it is. I would have heard, I would have heard that come through. Definitely was louder. But there you go. I mean, still not obnoxious at this level. I can make it obnoxious, but then I turn this joker up, activate the noise gate. I can cut all that out. Let's see what happens when it comes back. There it was. Turn the volume all the way up on here, and I can control it up here with the noise gate. So if a voice comes through, you can hear how it pitches up and then pulls it back. So you're not just listening to that static the entire time. There you go. That's how we do it. Hack Shack, new Sangean DT-200x, new style. They said it can't be hacked. Pasadena Paranormal says, hold my beer. Watch me. Hope you all found it useful. One quick side note that I want to throw into this that I forgot to mention earlier is that the Sangean DT-200, it is an AM FM radio, but in doing this hack, I removed the AM antenna. Alright, typically you can't even detune AM, but I got rid of it altogether. Unfortunately, doing the pinout inside does not allow you to hear the static from the AM side. So I'll show you that real quick. If I switch to AM and I scan, I have no sound. Alright, it's running through AM, but I've got nothing. So I'll go ahead and do the reset that I showed earlier. So I'm going to power off, hold it down, holding the power button the entire time until that light goes off. And we're going to count 5 seconds after that. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Power back on. Hold down it. And like you can hear, you get a little but it's barely doing it. I mean, you can hear it barely, but I mean, it's barely. Well, look, I turned it to negative 70 dB. I'll turn off the noise gate altogether. So there's really nothing there on AM. Typically we just stick on FM anyways. I know some people like to scan through AM. So if anybody does this and doesn't rip out all the antennas and everything that I did, it's a potential that you may maintain the AM on this. I don't think it will, but obviously didn't test that part, so I can't confirm it or deny it. I can just tell you what I did. Does not give you the same feature on AM. not very loud at least. So that's it. You do it and stick with FM. I can show you that that works for sure. There you go. A side note, if you're going to use the noise gate, is that all this extra copper in here in line adds to a potential antenna. So I found that tucking the audio cable out from the Sangean into the noise gate, keep it tucked behind it, underneath and back. Don't let it sprawl out, you know. Actually, let's see if I can get it to do it. So here it's running, you know, and that was, so 98.5 we saw earlier, that's where it keeps going through, right? And here a little bleed at 98.5. There it was. Alright, so now I'm going to loosen that that cable there. I'm going to let it flow out and see if it does anything to draw. Just like that. Little Prince? Yeah. So there you go. So just by loosening this up, you see that it grabs that radio signal, and we stopped it. So now we have to go through a reset again to get it back to how it was. So let's go ahead and tuck this back behind there. I'm not even going to use a tie this time. Let's see if we can just tuck it back behind it. Alright, so just folded it back instead of using a wire tie. I just folded it back behind it. We're going to power off. Wait till the light goes off. One, two, three, four, five. Let's see if we get that radio station again. 98.5. And right past it. So be mindful of how much copper you have in line. This is an antenna, a speaker, a microphone. We talked about this in investigation before. A speaker can pick up RF. A microphone can pick up RF. So the more you have in line here creates an antenna for this to use. Just a helpful tip that I've learned. And you see now we're just screaming past it every time because I tucked that behind it. You can tie wrap it. You want to minimize your potential for an antenna. And just doing that creates enough that it reduces the amount that it can grab. So there you go.